One line review. It is such a ginormous piece of shit that it clogged the fucking commode. Every single cell in my body united to hate this film. We should start by looking at the good side of it because every film has something good to offer. So here I go. It is a stupid fucking movie. Think of the logline of this film. It is the pinnacle of a great drama where the thriller comes in handy. And then you see how the story of this film unfolds and wonder how bad writing butchers a great idea. If drama were a person, he would come his black pants white thinking of the logline. Drama is my favorite genre, and I was witnessing the harassment of it for 2 hours by the hands of the makers who mistook storytelling for preaching. I hate social message movies, and this film just reinforced my argument. It is a classic example of how ideology or message of the writer or the story ruins the writing. I think Kanika came up with the ending before writing the story. She loved it so much she took any route that took her to that ending. A recipe for disaster. It was a good idea developed by the wrong hands. It demanded Aaron Sorkin kind of writing. Cheerful, enthusiastic, musical approach was the worst approach for this film. It made a mockery of a good idea by its dumbass screenplay. You know you should take it seriously, but the film never lets you. The film felt more like a soap opera episode than a feature film. That's the worst low you can hit. I keep blabbering about character writing. What do I mean? By character, I mean human beings like you and me. Though they are fictional people, they are humans nonetheless. The characters are crafted with each scene, and by the end of the story, you get well acquainted with them. You can say that, yeah, I know this person. Well, this cannot happen if you do not let the characters dictate the scene, and the writer takes it upon himself to do that job. He wants to go from point A to point B and uses any character to take the journey. Doesn't matter if the characters will take that route or not. The characters work for the writer instead of the writer crafting the characters and letting them take him to where they would go. Example, take Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton. Cliff and Rick were who they are throughout the story. In order to make a scene funnier or make Rick Dalton look cooler, Tarantino did not betray his character and made him act and talk like Cliff Booth. He found a different way of making Rick look cool in his own way, something that Rick would say and do. Now, tomorrow in an interview, Tarantino tells you, you want to hear another story of Cliff Booth, and hearing that story, you never can convince yourself that Tarantino is talking about Cliff because now you know Cliff. And even if Tarantino tells you that Cliff got scared of a man who was trying to pick a fight with him and he ran home and did not come out of his house for days, you would never believe him because you know Cliff. The characters shouldn't act according to the scene. The scene should act and revolve according to the characters. Even if you have the greatest joke on earth and you know it would generate a great number of laughs, if it betrays your character, you can never let him or her utter that joke. You should never ruin a character for a scene. In this film, they just wrote one scene after another and put the character just to act according to the writer because she was in so much hurry to reach the end and preach. Another example, you know your parents. Now you hear a story about them where never for a moment you feel like that's what your parents would do because you know them and you know what they would say and how they would say. But we don't know the characters before entering the story. How would we know if they are acting like how they are supposed to? The characters are woven from scene to scene. You cannot say in one scene the character is afraid of snakes and in the next scene show the character holding the snake in her hands. You don't even know who the character is that you were following in this film. One scene they give you a hint of who the character is and a few scenes later they betray them. All the dots of the characters are joined by the end of the film. You get acquainted with the character from scene to scene. Such a poor treatment of a good concept. Only good writing was in the amity between the characters of Bridge Kala and Kajol. They should have been part of a different story. It reminded me of Thadam, reassured me how great that film was. The music. They used the music really well to hide the garbage of a film they created. How to ruin a great score by overusing it. This movie shows you the difference between using music and abusing it. Great score, horribly overused to make it so used to the ear it fails to function where it needs the most. Music alone cannot do any good to the scene if you have written a poor screenplay. The same goes for cinematography. Performance. Only good performances were Kajol, Brijendra Kala, and Tanvi Azmi's performance. Kriti Sanon and Shahir Sheikh's performance gave real tough competition to soap opera acting, which is exactly the kind of performance a great film like this required.